Hey guys, this is App Reviewer. Today we'll be taking a look at our fourth and final case review for the 1X. Here we've got the Speck CandyShell. This came from AT&T and I picked it up for $35. It's a protective hard shell with a soft center and sweet look. So this is very similar to the CandyShell grip that we took a look at, except for some minor changes on the back. So let's crack this open and I'll show you exactly what Speck has to say about this case. So as you can see, very similar to the grip, it features two layers in one. Has a glossy outer shell that protects from scratches, rubberized interior layer, ultra protection, 2-in-1 hard shell construction, etc. So let's pop this out. And I want to bring the grip in here quickly just so you can see the differences. Now, on the inside you've got the same amount of silicone, you've got the same rubber rim around both, but the main differences are on the back, where you can see the grip is most prevalent with silicone, so you have just a little bit of a sort of plastic spine. Whereas on the CandyShell, the regular model, you've got the same amount of silicone and plastic. So you've got sort of a silicone inner layer which is coated with that hard plastic. So I'm a bigger fan of this one right here just because it offers a little bit more protection since the plastic is the same amount as the silicone. So one thing to note, however, is this one is nearly impossible to take off just because it's so stiff and rugged. So let's pop this on. Installation is super simple with the CandyShell, but the main problem is removing it just because it's so stiff, like I mentioned. So what you want to do is just start off through the bottom and then work your way up and push it into place. Now, one thing to note is this is made for the AT&T model, but it works fine on the international model right here. So if you have either model, it'll work just fine with whichever. So once again, you can see on the front you have that nice lay on the table design, that thick silicone and plastic band which protects your screen when you place it face down. Right up here you can see the camera and the lens, nice cutout. I love the way it's accentuated with that black sort of liner around to give you that cherry and black sort of color. You've got the Speck logo right here. Now this is a glossy and actually very glossy backing, so it will get a little bit of fingerprints, but most importantly it will scratch up like crazy. I've only had this for a couple of days now, but over time my CandyShell, my iPhone, my iPad, all these devices I've tried it on has gotten scratched like crazy. The benefit of that, however, is that the CandyShell is getting scratched and not your device, so just something I wanted to point out. At the bottom you can see a very nice cutout, once again accentuated with the black liner for the speaker, works just fine. On the corners you have silicone, so this will provide a little bit more shock absorption when you drop it on a corner. On the top you can see a small cutout for the headphone jack and also microphone. It is a little bit smaller for my taste, but most of my headphones fit in there just fine after a little bit of wiggling. On the left hand side you can see a cutout for the micro USB charger, no problems with it. Towards the bottom you have a very precise cutout for the secondary microphone, works fine. On the right hand side you've got a covering for the volume rockers. These are super easy to press, some of the best buttons I've found on the device. Now you guys know that I mentioned that the tough case had very tough buttons to press, and this one is just the complete opposite. They're super easy to press and you can tell where up is and where down is because there's that little indentation right there, so they've done a good job with these. Same thing goes for the power button. Very easy to press, very distinctive, and gives you a nice tactile feel. So overall Speck has done a pretty good job with all the ports and the cutouts. So similar to the CandyShell grip, the original CandyShell will offer a great amount of protection without adding too much bulk, as you can see. The case itself still feels lightweight but not too robust, which is good, but at the same time the plastic on the back will offer some nice rigidity and protection, whereas the silicone on the sides and on the inside will offer some good shock absorption. Now the reason I like this case over the grip is because there is a little bit more plastic, which adds a little bit more rigidity, so it's not as flimsy. But the downside is the fact that that plastic is just so tough that this case is almost impossible to remove, and I had to put a lot of force on these corners right up here to remove it. My other con is the fact that, like I mentioned, the back will scratch up like crazy, so you'll see it get a little bit dull over time, but it's not too bad. Now, like I said, you can pick this up for $35, same as the CandyShell grip. So the only difference between them is the fact this one has a little bit more silicone and this one's made towards gamers. This one's a little bit more easy to remove, and this one offers a little bit more protection. So I knew I was going to get that question, so I just wanted to differentiate the two of them. So if you're interested in picking it up, you can do so at AT&T or the Speck website. Like I said, 35 bucks, definitely a high price to pay, but the case itself is fantastic and it'll definitely last you a long time. So anyways guys, thanks a lot for watching my coverage. Stay tuned for more. Cheers.